So, well, hi there. This is another project from me. It's the puzzle transmitter. Huh? Puzzle transmitter? Yep, puzzle transmitter. It's a 31 meters shortwave transmitter for beginners. This doesn't look like a beginner's circuit. Look how many components there are. It's complex. No, believe me, it isn't. If you listen to my explanation. Okay, there are these so-called solderless breadboards. I'm sorry, there are the clips from a few previous videos. I've tried it a few times to get the perfect shot. So there are these so-called solderless breadboards available, and you can build circuits on them. So each row here, this row and this row, for example, there's always a connection from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, but they aren't connected this way. The only ones that are connected this way are the upper one and the lower one. Okay, on these solderless breadboards you can, as I say, build circuits, and that's exactly what I've done. I've built a 31 meter, since I think the 31 meters is in the USA the same as 49 meters in Europe. I've heard it in a song. At least he was singing 31 meters USA, and I was expecting that this is the 49 meter Europe band in the USA, if you want to call it like that. However, here's my circuit for a 31 meter home transmitter for vintage radio. And I don't really mean tube radios or valve radios. Of course, you can also supply them with this transmitter. I rather mean this type of radio, which is like 80s, I think it's 80s tech. Or even younger radios, they are like transistor shortwave radios. This is wherefore the transmitter is intended. So, puzzle transmitter. Once again, puzzle transmitter. Why puzzle transmitter? Well, as I said, there are these solderless breadboards available, and along with them you can go ahead and create your own circuit. And it's very simple. You don't need a solder iron, you just need to build it. And if you have a look on this solderless breadboard, you can barely read it, but there's a Y. And on my solderless breadboard there's also a Y. And now you can go ahead, and I will explain the values soon in the video, but you can pause the video then and rebuild it. Now you can go ahead, take some wire, for example this wire, which is the antenna, but you can buy this wire in various stores, and you cut wire bridges out of it. You aren't supposed to, but I did it. So these are wire bridges. And then you look on the video and see, okay, on the bottom of the circuit board, on the first connector, there's a wire bridge. Then you go ahead, if you want to build this transmitter, buy one of these solderless breadboards, make wire bridges, and go ahead, plug in the wire bridge on the first of the connectors. Then you go back to the video. Of course, this is very annoying, I admit it, but you can rebuild it that way. And have a look and see, aha, there's another wire bridge. And then you start counting, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, three holes on the bottom. And then you have a look on the video and see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 holes on the top. So you take the next bridge and put it in, 3 holes on the bottom and 4 on the top, like this. And just like a puzzle, part by part, you're going to build your own shortwave transmitter. The next component, look back on the video again. I know it's annoying, but it's one way you could rebuild it, really simple. Aha, there's an LED. And if you see it, okay, it is 4 holes on the bottom and 5 holes on the top. And I tell ya, this LED is like this. So the long goes to ground and the short one goes on top. So 4 on the bottom, 5 on top. Ta-da, your LED is plugged in. And that's part by part. You go through the video. And now it's annoying, but part by part you go through the video, pause it, and plug the components into your solderless breadboard until you get the circuit working. Okay, yeah. Now, this is the boring part, but this is the part you will require if you want to rebuild this transmitter. I now go through the components of the transmitter and explain you where they are plugged in. So you have already seen the first 2 wire bridges. Then there's another wire bridge going up and going to this connector of this potentiometer, which is a 10K potentiometer. The minus, which is marked as you can see here, from the electrolytic, which is a 16 volts 100 microfarad, also goes to this one. Of course, you have to look at it. There it goes in the hole above the potentiometer. The plus from the electrolytic goes to this connector, of course on the solderless breadboard. And as you can see, there's a wire bridge bridging it to plus. So you have seen this LED. there's this resistor here. It's a 100K. Brown, black, yellow is its color code. And it's going, as you can tell, on top of the LED. Also there you can see this capacitor, this brown capacitor. This is a 100 picofarad 101. It's going on top of the coil, this coil here, which is hidden, if you want to call it like that, between the LED and another capacitor. This is a 2.2 microhenry inductor, which has the color code red, gold. If you want to buy it, you type in SMCC 2.2 microhenry. If you don't know how to get the micro working, very simple. You push this key and at the same time you push this key, and then you get the micro for microhenry. And for Henry, of course, you write in a big H. Okay, that's the coil in the oscillator. Then you can see this capacitor over the coil with the purple top. It's another 100 picofarads. This 100 picofarads goes from top of the coil to the middle contact of this transistor. As you can see, it goes above the transistor. It goes to base. It's a 100 picofarads 101 on the capacitor. Then we have this big capacitor. We have this big capacitor here. This is a 10 nanofarads going from collector of this transistor to ground. It's 10 nanofarads 103 on the capacitor. The next capacitor is the smaller one here. This is a 330 picofarads 331 on the capacitor going from ground to emitter of this transistor. And as you can tell, it's going into the breadboard there. The capacitor in between, which is a little bit bigger, is a 220 picofarads. It's 221 on the capacitor, and it goes from emitter to base of this transistor. Also, there's a 2.2K resistor on top. As you can see over here, this resistor, this one is a 2.2K. It's red, and it goes from emitter to ground via this wire bridge in the middle. The next component we have is the 10 picofarads capacitor. It goes from emitter of this transistor to base of this. So it goes from the right contact from this transistor to the middle contact of this transistor. And as you can see by the video where it goes, you can see it. The resistor here, which goes from base to collector, as you can see this one in the middle of the capacitors on the transistor, is a 100K. Brown, black, yellow is the color code. The resistor here from base to collector is a 220K, the one which is standing. Its color code is red, yellow. The upper resistor which goes from collector to plus is a 2.2K. Color code red. This capacitor right there, which goes from collector of this transistor to base of this transistor, is a 100 picofarads, 101. Or sometimes even just 100 on the capacitor. The next resistor, which goes from base to collector, is another 220K. I've used not so many different values to keep it as simple as possible. Now another coil, SMCC 1 microhenry from collector, as you can see, going over here to this capacitor, which is also 10 nanofarads, 103. The color code for the 1 microhenry coil is brown, black, gold. Also, you can see there's a capacitor in parallel with this coil, which is this one. This is another 330 picofarads, 331. As you can see here, it goes with the wire bridge just over there. This resistor here, which goes to plus, is a 1K resistor. Brown, black, red. This transistor here has a capacitor which is 1 nanofarad from base to collector. As you can see, it's going from one of the connectors to the other connector. It's 102. This resistor here, which is in parallel to the capacitor, which also goes from base to collector of this transistor, is another 100K. Brown, black, yellow. The wire above, as you can see, this wire here, this long wire, goes to the middle of the transistor, which is base. And then it goes to this 1 microfarad non-polarized capacitor, which is a foil capacitor. The other side from the foil capacitor goes to a 100 ohms resistor, and then the other side from the 100 ohms resistor goes to your audio source. Okay, how to hook up the audio source? There you need this connector in Germany, it's called Klinke connector. You can connect one headphone connector here, and you need one that has this wire, for example. And then you can use two bend-able wires, and One you wind on ground, which is here, and the other, which is the audio input, can be either connected to the upper one or to the middle one. Don't short these ones. Some amplifiers don't care about it, some won't like it. So you can either use the middle one or the upper one. I would suggest the upper one, it's rather simple. And then connect one side to ground, to the same side where the minus from the battery is, and the other side to the 100 ohms resistor. Pay attention, do not connect the audio source to B plus from the battery, it will damage it. So the other side of the audio source goes to this 100 ohms resistor, not to plus. Pay attention to that. Okay, this capacitor here, I've forgotten I did not forget to mention it, I intentionally didn't mention it. It's CX. Using a different LED will give you a different result. I've had in this LED before, or another LED, and the frequency that was transmitting on was different because of production, some small, but for the LED performance, not important production differences. I don't know exactly why it's doing that. Anyway, this capacitor equalizes out the frequency. For example, if you plug in an LED and your transmitter is running, it could happen that it's transmitting, but it's transmitting on like, let's say 10 megahertz instead of 9.5. And you don't want that, then you have to increase this capacitor. In my case, this capacitor here is a 47 picofarads. It's simply parallel to the coil. And if the transmitter is running on 10 megahertz, it's running too high, you have to increase it to like 56 or even 68 picofarads. Just experiment until you can receive the radio transmitter in the radio standing nearby and tune to an empty frequency. If the transmitter is transmitting like on 9 megahertz below the frequency that you want to transmit, you have to decrease the value of this capacitor, like 39 picofarads, 33 picofarads, something in that range. With the variable potentiometer, you can tune your transmitter and you will cover like 100 up to 200 kilohertz range with it. So you can change the frequency like 100 up to 200 kilohertz. This coil, by the way, which is brown, black on the output, is a 10 microhenry coil. All these coils are SMCC types. This antenna is 60 centimeters and this is also 60 centimeters or 2 feet. In my case, they are a little bit shorter, but you can use antennas of that length. I did not use a tuning capacitor because someone is for sure complaining, oh, I can't get one, oh, where can I get one? That's why I use variable potentiometer tuning. But if you have the ability to get one of these capacitors, you can replace this capacitor here, which is a 22 picofarads fixed capacitor, with a tunable capacitor, and then you can align the antenna for the best performance and tweak the range of the transmitter, which is right now up one or two rooms. It's not really strong, but it's also not that weak, depending on how good where you place it. It will at least cover one room with a good signal for your vintage radio equipment. Okay, what else to say? If you want to supply it with a power supply instead of a battery, use a 9-volt power supply, because some power supplies are unstabilized and they will put out like 11 volts instead of 9, and it will take it. But don't use a 12-volt supply, because it can happen that if it's unstabilized, it will go up to 16 or even 17 volts, and the capacitor won't like that, as the circuit does. All transistors are BC548B standard transistors. BC547 will probably also work, but you can also use the 2N3904 transistor, but you have to put it in exactly the wrong way around, because on the 2N3904 compared to the BC548, emitter and collector are the other way around. They are switched. Okay, waffled enough. Now let's demonstrate the tuning of this variable potentiometer. Let's watch the LED. I'm turning on the potentiometer, and as you can see, with tuning the potentiometer, I can untune and tune the radio station. So there's no variable capacitor, and still you can tune it, because the red LED acts as a variable capacitor diode, VariCap. Okay, waffled enough. Now let's have a listen to the audio quality of this transmitter. Okay, I have to tune it again for exact frequency. Let's try the other side. Okay, nothing good there. Excuse me. Nothing good there for demonstration. The audio quality of this transmitter is not perfect, but it's okay for a beginner's project. It should work. Just a short camera view or a few angels that you can pause that will eventually help you to rebuild the circuit of this beginner's puzzle AM transmitter. Okay, best regards, Stefan.